Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Griff Talk podcast, where your fellow Griffin, me, Makani Thornhill, will talk about pop culture, music, film, and what's happening around the world, whether it's locally or in Philly, wherever. I'm here to share my thoughts and opinions, and most importantly, here to build a space for conversation. So I know, our last episode, I was very hopeful and excited that Kamala Harris would win the election, but unfortunately, Donald Trump has taken the win for his second run of presidency. And for my journalism writing class, we had a little discussion, and my professor Nixon, just asked us like how we felt and like our remote reactions. So I'm just gonna read what I said in the discussion board. We're gonna leave it at that because I have so many thoughts, and I'm sure by the time um, we'll talk more about it at some point, I'm sure. So I just want to say that I'm highly disappointed in the turnout of this election. I'm truly shocked that this has happened, although I'm not surprised. I think that it was very naive of me to think that America would let a woman become president, let alone a black woman. The election has shown me how more than ever that many American people would rather a convicted felon, formerly fired president, racist and bigot to run America than a qualified woman, in quotation marks, who happens to be black. Then again, why would a country that was built off the backs of African slaves and indigenous people ever be in favor of me? These are the questions I ask myself more than ever. If I'm being quite honest, it's hard for me to think about how extreme his ideals and plans could go. A part of me is sad and filled with anxiety about the next steps he will choose once he's in office. Will my friends be able to stay and enjoy the life that they've built? Will slavery be a conversation that can turn into reality? How will my reproductive health care be affected? Is same sex marriage going to still be legal? So many questions that I think about. Then there's a part of me that is angry and feeling super chill about it because I know for a fact that these things won't happen to me without a fight. It sounds extreme, but I have made the decision to not be complicit with things that affect my bodily autonomy and my future, even if it means protesting or even sitting in jail because I use my voice. Oddly enough, I feel more revolutionized than before. So I'm gonna just leave it off as that. Um, we're gonna switch and get into, I won't say some lighter things, but some things that are going on locally in Philadelphia. So currently, animal shelters, specifically the ACCT in Philly, is going through a crisis right now. They are having a surge of animals, but specifically dogs, that desperately need homes and forever homes at that. Not just like foster dogs. Like, we need these dogs to have homes. And currently, about 10 dogs at the shelter are time stamped. And that's just right now. Time stamped meaning that if they don't find homes, they'll be and euthanized, they'll be put down. And I'll just read a quick quote from the story that was on NBC 10. It says, "We had a dog over the weekend that was adoptable and healthy, and he was what we call a timestamp. So the public knows that he has until Saturday morning if he doesn't find placement. Unfortunately, he didn't find placement, and because we didn't have space, we had to proceed with euthanasia." So that was said by one of the directors at the ACCT Philly. And I just wanted to kind of just bring light to this, issue and say, if you're going to buy a dog, please don't shop, try to adopt. I also wanted to get into the topic of pit bulls specifically because I feel like those are a lot of the dogs that are in these shelters. Um, and they have a bad rep, if I'm being honest. Like, a lot of them are usually categorized as dogs that are meant to protect. And yes, they are meant to protect, but overall, they're still a companion and they still deserve the same training and the same treatment as, a Pomeranian or a mini poodle would get. Specifically, I think when I think about this topic, I think about right now there is a TikToker who has a dog that she calls Simba. Ironically, my dog name is Simba, but he is a pit bull, and I'll insert the clip. But he is aggressive and he's having food aggression. And on top of him having food aggression, she recently just got him a mate to breed those dogs. And I think that, like, it's just very irresponsible to not take care of a dog, especially like a dog like a pit bull or a cane corso, or like, I'm trying to think of the other dog. It's not a Great Dane. I forget the name of the other dog. But like dogs like that are big, like, unfortunately they have more aggression than some other dogs, so they need to be trained properly. And I think, like, she's being irresponsible about the situation, and people are kind of on TikTok trying to inform her that, like, with the food aggression and also the pheromones from this other mate, you're making it way more difficult for you to take control of your dog. And yeah, it's just a super sad situation. I'm hoping that, people will be able to give some of these dogs new homes so they can get more space into these shelters to help dogs that are in need as well. And then it dawned on me to think about, if there aren't enough rooms or spaces for dogs in shelters, think about the amount of people that don't have spaces in shelters that are human. Like, as we know, inner cities have a really big problem with homelessness just in general. But I think, like, me looking at this and researching this, like, the effort that I'm putting into researching and trying to help these dogs, like, I really want us to, like, look at ourselves and try to help other people who are unhoused this holiday season, specifically Thanksgiving. Something I usually do, my family, if we have leftovers, we give it out to the homeless. So I'm encouraging everyone to just give back, whether it's to a dog or to a human. But yeah, this is the season of giving, so let's just give. The next topic that I'll be talking about is the Wicked press tour run. Okay, all the theater kids, gather around. It's time to talk. We've been seeing so many. Well, I've particularly been seeing so many, like, TikTok memes of Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, and they're saying that, like, they're crying and they're, like, super emotional about this movie. Like, every time a interviewer asks them a question, they're, like, bawling their eyes out. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, they're doing a lot. Like, they're crying for what? But through further research and, like, actually watching the interviews, like, you'll learn that they've been filming this movie for over 3 years now. So I think, and even reading articles from theater kids, like, when looking at it in a different lens, like, being an actor is hard. Like, making yourself into a new character and changing how you talk, changing how you walk, like, all of that psychologically does take a toll on you. And, like, you're not who you used to be. Like, imagine if I just woke up, I'm like, I'm not Makani, like, I'm actually Glinda from Wicked. And you have to, like, change your aneurysms and all of that. Everything that goes into that is just, like, a really strenuous task on the brain and mind. And I feel like looking at it from a different perspective of, like, you've taken a long time to work on this, and, like, what are the words that I'm trying to think? Like, it just takes a lot out of you. So I understand in some way why asking these questions of, like, how hard was it for you to get here? If I shot a movie for 3+ years, I, like, strenuously used my voice, and on top of that, I've changed who I am as a character and, like, as a person to become this character, I might get emotional too. So I'm gonna say, let's just give our girls a little bit of slack. And then just even thinking about Wicked and the story of Wicked and who Cynthia Erivo is, to be a Black woman and be in that character, I think a little bit more deeply about how, like, that story is about belonging and wanting to belong and being a part of a community. And whether we believe it or not, I know Cynthia Erivo has some, like, you know, what's the word? She has a little past of comments that she's made that kind of rub people the wrong way. But whether we want to like it or not, like, her being a Black woman in this role and the story that Wicked tells is very important, and it sheds a light on not feeling like you're a part of somewhere or not feeling like you're a part of a community, and essentially finding someone that can help you be a part of that community or welcome you in that community. So I'm not really into musicals, so I'm not going to say that I'm like, I don't want to see it. I would like to see Wicked, since I've never seen it on Broadway, but I won't be watching it in movie theater. Like I don't think I'm ready for like people to be singing and stuff like that in the theaters. Um, Me and Greg were talking about that before the podcast. Like I don't know if I'm ready for that. So I think I'm gonna just take this on to Disney Plus and watch it at home. Um, and in segments, because musicals are really hard for me to like get through, if I'm being honest. Like other than Annie, I think that's like the only real musical that I've watched. So but overall, I've been loving the press tour. I'm a pink and green fan just of the colors, so I've been like super excited and like seeing their fashion choices. um Excuse me. This also explains like their Met Gala like run. I believe Cynthia Rivia had like a kind of crazy Met Gala gown, and we kind of were confused when we saw it. I'll also insert a picture here. But it kind of makes sense. It was on theme. It's all coming together. So yeah. Um, the next topic I'll talk about is this came out a little bit before the election decision, but had to take a mental break for that one. So I'm going to talk about the Megan Thee Stallion documentary. It came out on Prime, and I think this, to me, the documentary wasn't a shock to me. I kind of knew a lot of the stuff that came out in the documentary, but it was good to see Megan Thee Stallion be able to speak her truth and give voice to the things that were like put on the internet, and kind of just like stick up for herself, stick up for who Megan Thee Stallion was before she even became famous. And I think that's overall what the film was trying to show, that like women deserve to use their voices even if they feel like they are silenced. Um, and for all the people who were saying that Megan Thee Stallion was trying to lock up a black man, let's clock the T of, it was not Tory Lanez versus Megan Thee Stallion. It was Tory Lanez versus California. So she did not press charges. The state of California realized that although she's not pressing charges, the crimes that he committed a crime. So if you look at the actual court documents and things like that, Megan Thee Stallion still did not try to lock that man up. He did that to himself. And just looking at the overall torture that he put her through when it came to music videos, chopping up horse legs, like just being very explicit about this situation and making it seem as though he didn't commit that crime or he didn't shoot her. It's just like mind-boggling to me. If you haven't watched it and you have some free time, please go and watch the Megan Thee Stallion documentary. I'll insert a few clips and pictures so you can see where you can watch it. It's on Prime. But it was super good. And it also kind of made me, I already respected her, but I respect her 10 times more, because being able to endure all the bashing she got from people talking about her looks, talking about her being promiscuous, all of these things that don't matter when it comes to being a victim of gun violence. That's essentially what it is. And to wrap this mini episode up, we're going to talk about the small retreat that's going on with Campus Ministry. It's going to be on November the 22nd, Friday. It's just a mini retreat just to reflect and be around community. If you have any questions, you can email Anna Ryan Bender, or you can email, let me get the right email, or you can email John Patterson. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Stay tuned for more. I hope you guys have a great weekend.